It's not the result that the Indian fans were hoping for. It's India's first loss to Pakistan in a World Cup encounter, not just in the T20 format, but across all formats. That includes 50 over as well as the T20 World Cup. And it wouldn't be incorrect to say that it was an absolutely one-sided encounter, because India put on 152 to begin with, and that was very easily chased by Pakistan. That target of 152, they reached there in 17.5 overs and without losing a single wicket. So it's a massive victory for the Pakistan team. It's a 10-wicket victory for them. Not many things going right for India right from the batting when they lost their two in-form openers in KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma to Shaheen Afridi, and that's where the downslide began. After that, you had the likes of Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant trying to get the innings back on track, and they did manage to do it to a certain extent, but in the end 151 was never going to be enough against this Pakistani top order. If India had any chance, they needed a few early wickets. That wasn't to be the case. India started with Mohammad Shami, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, hoping that they'll bring those early wickets to them. Wasn't to be. The Indian spinners came on later, but the Pakistani batsmen played them masterfully too. That was Mohammad Rizwan and captain Babar Azam. Rizwan notching up 78 in just 55 deliveries at an incredible strike rate of 141, and Babar Azam, the captain, matching him run for run with 68 in 52 deliveries, with again a very good strike rate of 130. Not many returns for the Indian bowlers. If you take a look at the bowling card, Mohammad Shami proving to be rather expensive in his spell of 3.5 overs, going for close to 11 and over. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, of course, chipping in with those 3 overs and giving away just 25 runs. Rahul Rawat, my colleague, joins me on the show. Rahul, you've got to say that the better team won on the day.
Better team. I would also say, of course, they had the best of conditions to bat as far as Pakistan is concerned. Nikhil, you've been asking a lot of questions. I want to ask you a few questions. Who are your two best bowlers? If you picked maybe a Varun Chakravarti, a mystery spinner, who is your best bowler in this Indian team?
Jasprit Bumrah for me. And I know what you're getting at. You're getting at to the point that Jasprit Bumrah bowls only 1 over in the first 10 overs that India bowl, and you need a wicket there if you had any chance.
You needed wickets at that point in time. If you could have won this match, you could have won this match by dismissing this Pakistani batting, and you get your best bowler to bowl his second over, after the half of the match is already over. So that's pretty strange. I thought it's easier now that the match is over. We can always criticize that this didn't happen, this didn't go India's way. But to be fair to India, I would say that Pakistan got the better conditions to bat. It was difficult with all the dew around. The ball wasn't gripping. We saw a few of the Indian fast bowlers trying, especially Bhuvneshwar Kumar, trying to bowl those leg cutters, but they couldn't get the grip, unfortunately. But still, India didn't have the plan B. Hardik Pandya, he didn't come out to even field. If we thought that he could just roll his arm over and could get a couple of overs, if Virat could get a couple of overs from him, but that wouldn't happen, because an already half-fit, perhaps a half-fit player got into the 11, and what he did was, after he was struck on his shoulder, he's gone back to the hospital and has gone for scans. Let's see if he's available or not. But this was pretty lopsided. To be very honest, I thought that 150, it would be a little difficult. Maybe Pakistan, of course, with all the dew around, they were favourites at that point in time. But still, India were completely, they just couldn't match or compete against this Pakistani batting.
We can talk about the conditions, whether it really benefited Pakistan to be batting second here, but there's no excuse for not bowling well. And I'm going to talk about two fast bowlers in Shami and Bhuvneshwar Kumar. The ball was swinging today. Now that's a change that we noticed in Dubai. We've been watching a lot of games in the IPL. The ball wasn't swinging, and we saw the Pakistani bowlers make best use of it. You would expect something like that from a Mohammad Shami, from a Bhuvneshwar Kumar, but all we saw saw is again and again trying those slower balls. If you're trying to contain a team, that's understandable. When you're trying to take wickets, you have to rely on swing, won't you?
Absolutely. I thought, Shami, there was a risk. You couldn't bowl further up. You couldn't bowl, half volleys. Half volleys in the sense you couldn't pitch the ball up. You couldn't bowl shorter. So you had to be very precise with your lengths. Also, we are discussing a lot about the bowling. Perhaps the batsman didn't put up a good enough score. Maybe 150 was a below par score. Dubai we were expecting. Of course, it's the same pitch where West Indies got shot out for just 55 last evening. But 150 with this kind of batting. Rohit Sharma gone for a golden duck, then KL Rahul both dismissed in the first 3 overs. Of course, Shaheen Afridi, you can't take anything away from that fast bowler. He was breathing fire, absolutely. And then even Virat Kohli, he was pretty accurate with his lengths. Despite the fact that Virat and Rishabh Pant at one stage, it seemed they had done enough to take India to maybe a score of around 160, 165, but then still 150 in the end turned out to be a below par score, and also the bowling wasn't up to the mark. Varun Chakravarti, we were all thinking, and also I don't know if you had a plan for this opening pair. In the pre-match show, Nikhil, we were discussing about this very opening pair. You in fact mentioned a few times you wanted to discuss, you asked Wasim Akram, Sunny Bhai a lot about Mohammad Rizwan, and eventually what happened? Mohammad Rizwan and Babar Azam, they turned out to be the difference. Of course, Shaheen Afridi as well.
Let's get back to the Indian batting. Now, we've seen this, and if you pick up any sort of records, one thing that is very obvious, and everyone's been discussing that, is the fact that left-arm fast bowlers have troubled the Indian batsmen. I'm going to especially talk about the top 3, that is Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Virat Kohli. Yes, Virat Kohli had a very good outing today, but that was a weakness that was known to the world. You and I knew that, Rahul. Wouldn't you have expected then the Indian openers to have been better prepared for this contest?
Yes, yes. Normally what you do, you would remember 2019 World Cup. In fact, you take a lot of net bowlers with you, just to have some sort of simulation. I remember Jason Behrendorff. I still remember that delivery that got Rohit Sharma, a left-arm fast bowler, Mohammad Amir in 2016. In the Champions Trophy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. I was there at the 2015 World Cup, and they had Irfan Khan, who was a tall bowler, and I remember the Indian team was practicing with a those thrower of the ball standing on a stool just to get accustomed to that left arm pacer. I wonder whether that happened this time.
Absolutely. And as far as preparations are concerned, we all thought, Nikhil, that this Indian team, these Indian players have gotten used to the conditions. They've been playing in UAE for the last 1 month. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the fatigue factor. Maybe they were not prepared enough for this kind of battle. Virat, of course, he said that this was just another match. I remember Virat also made a similar kind of statement before the World Test Championship final also, when he was asked that if this is the most important match in the lives of many of the players. I was, in fact, the question was asked precisely for somebody like Cheteshwar Pujara, Ajinkya Rahane, who perhaps may not get an opportunity to play a limited overs World Cup final. So Virat said that the Indian team was there in England on that tour to play 6 test matches. I understand if he says that before a Pakistan match that this was just another match. A lot of even the Pakistan players also said that this was just another match. But you have to admit that against New Zealand also, Nikhil, we do not have a great record in T20 internationals. Only 2 teams have to progress to the semi-finals from this particular group, and both the groups.
Yeah, just give an idea. That's what I was getting to next. Just give an idea to our fans who must be watching, who must be disappointed at this point that India have lost their opening encounter, let alone that they've lost to arch rivals Pakistan. What does this mean for India's chances going forward? Because as you mentioned, there is New Zealand. There only 2 teams can go through. Pakistan has had a great start of this tournament, and there's the dangerous Afghanistan. We may have been saying that, oh, India's got an easy group, but Afghanistan can be dangerous on their day. And then you've got New Zealand too.
Absolutely. And Nikhil, see, whether the group is tough or it is easy, we have to accept the fact that only two teams will progress. You've lost the first match. Pakistan have won a very big match in their very first game. So that certainly will give some sort of fillip to their to their campaign if they win against if arch rivals India. First time, in 13 attempts, this is the first time they've won a match against India in a World Cup game. So certainly, and New Zealand will not be a cakewalk. So and so as you mentioned about Afghanistan, even they might not be a cakewalk. A lot of mystery spinners they have. Mujibur Rahman and your Rashid is also there. Nabi is also there.
Well,
so
yes.
even they may not be a cakewalk. So things are only going to get tougher from here because Pakistan have already got a victory and a very comprehensive. And what if the net run rate comes into play later at a later stage?
Very interesting. Let's talk about the Pakistan team as well. What is it that really gets them going? Is it the fact, I've heard all sorts of jokes on social media when New Zealand and England pulled out, everyone was talking that, oh, they won't have enough practice. But there was another school of thought that said that, listen, this is where Pakistan get dangerous. And that is exactly what has happened. Whenever they are pushed against a wall, whenever everything goes against them, we've seen the Pakistan teams in previous years as well do rather well. And that's exactly what they did against India today, as we've been talking here on India Today, that they registered a comprehensive win, 10-wicket win over India. And this is how the match panned out.
Oh, gone, surely gone, yes! Absolutely.
Disaster struck India right in the first over.
Long time.
Shaheen Afridi had Rohit Sharma for a golden duck. The Pakistan left-arm pacer was breathing fire and KL Rahul was his next victim. Both Indian openers sent back even before the third over had ended.
Look on in disbelief.
By the time the power play ended, Suryakumar Yadav also joined the two openers in the dressing room, with India left reeling at 31 for 3. But Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant resisted and soon began to take chances. While Virat was ready to play the second fiddle, Pant decided to have a go at Hassan Ali with two back-to-back sixes.
All of that as well, Rishabh Pant.
But one more attempt and Pant was gone too for a 30-ball 39.
Sitting underneath it, digs the catch. Just the right.
Virat at the other end brought up his third 50 against Pakistan in T20 World Cups.
Easy two. And that is 50 for Virat Kohli. 29th in T20.
He was finally dismissed at the score of 57 to become Shaheen Afridi's third victim of the evening. But Virat's half-century had ensured that India finished with 151 for 7. In reply, Pakistan openers Mohammad Rizwan and Babar Azam had the best possible start. At the halfway stage, Pakistan seemed to be cruising at 71 for 0, with both openers looking in sensational touch and belting the Indian bowlers. Babar was first to reach his half-century before Rizwan joined him too, as the two openers raised their third century stand in T20 internationals. It seemed all over. India were left frustrated, devoid of ideas, and conditions too didn't favour the Indian bowlers. Add to it India's lack of bowling options, with Hardik Pandya also not available after being struck on his shoulder. Pakistan finally had the monkey off their back and registered their maiden victory over India in a World Cup game. Sports Bureau, India Today.
It really is worth the...
Right, a comprehensive win there for Pakistan, their first ever victory over India in any World Cup encounter. Before this, that tally stood at 12-0 in favour of India. It now becomes 12-1 with Pakistan, as I've been mentioning, registering their first victory over India. Rahul Rawat, my colleague, still with us. Rahul, I'm just trying to think of how the Indian team may have approached. Of course, they got those jolts in the beginning with their two informed batsmen getting out in KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. But what must Virat Kohli be thinking at that time, because of the fact that these pitches in the UAE have been so unpredictable? Sometime 130, 40 looks like a winning total. Sometime, as we saw in the game in the morning, 170 odd wasn't safe. Could that have also played a role where you really didn't know what would be a safe target?
Well, to an extent, yes, absolutely, you're right. Because, you already had lost both your openers. Now, Virat also needed some sort of assurance and insurance in the middle order or the lower middle order. Unfortunately, with Virat in at number 3, you just had, if you can just speak about the batsmen, Rishabh Pant was there and then Hardik Pandya. Ravindra Jadeja, of course, a good enough batsman, but I think Virat could not unleash a number of boundaries or couldn't flex his muscles only because he didn't have that sort of an insurance lower down the order. But yes, when it did come, I thought that Rishabh Pant, when he smacked Hassan Ali for 2 consecutive sixes, things could have changed. India did get the momentum, but perhaps 151 was a little too less on this kind of pitch, especially with all that dew around.
Okay, let's give the devil its due, and I'm going to start with the Pakistani bowling of how it started, and it was, of course, that dream start, you could call it, for Shaheen Afridi. I don't know if you remember, we were talking to Wasim Akram for the last 2 days, building up to this match, and the one player he was picking again and again, whenever you spoke to him, that X factor, that one player you really need to look out for, and he kept saying Shaheen Afridi. At that moment, one thought that this must be that left arm fast bowlers club. They look out for each other and talk each other up. But that isn't the case, right? So clearly, they knew that he was prepared for this sort of a battle. They knew the matchups, and I'm guessing the Pakistan management knew these matchups, and they executed that plans perfectly.
Yes, and overall, if you see this Pakistani bowling attack, they have the variety.
Yeah.
They have a left arm fast bowler. He was bowling, actually, at one point in time, I thought that he was bowling those thunderbolts around 145 odd, at the pace of 145 odd kms. But yes, he got the initial inroads from where it was very difficult for India to come back, and even if they did, they couldn't score freely. They couldn't get the net. They couldn't get the scoring rate to about 8 and over. So that was the difficult task. But yes, we were all expecting this Pakistani bowling attack to be a threat, and they proved to be one. Especially Shaheen Afridi. He got your Rohit Sharma. He got KL Rahul, and then Virat Kohli as well when he was finally dismissed. Finally, for the first time. In a T20 World Cup game against Pakistan. This is the first time that Virat Kohli was dismissed, and Shaheen proved to be that bowler who got him.
Okay, since we're talking about Virat Kohli, I know everyone's going to talk about Mohammad Rizwan 79. You will also refer to Babar Azam 68. But there was a 57 there. If India is going to look for any sort of positives, that has to be Virat Kohli's 57. We knew that he always ends up scoring against Pakistan, but the proof of the pudding is in its eating. And that's exactly what he did. And this is how Virat Kohli, at that stage where India was struggling, really got the innings together.
Gives himself room.
Virat Kohli, Pakistan's perennial nemesis. The Indian captain bailed the men in blue out from a tough phase yet again.
To the pads, a thank you ball for Virat Kohli.
Shaheen Afridi had India on the mat with both openers KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma departing early.
Beauty. He's on absolute fire. Gives himself room. He does pull him.
But like he has done it on all previous occasions at the T20 World Cup against Pakistan, Kohli looked impossible to dislodge. The Indian captain had 250s in 3 innings against Pakistan at the T20 World Cup previously, and the latest knock turned out to be another good outing for King Kohli as he notched up yet another 50. The only change from previous occasions though was Kohli finally found a way to get out, but not before he helped India make a commendable recovery with a 55-run knock.
And that is 50 for Virat Kohli.
Kohli has a sensational record at the T20 World Cup. While his average in the T20 internationals is already phenomenal, at the marquee event, it shoots up to another level. Kohli's show with the bat bodes well for men in blue as they aim to win their first ICC trophy post their 2013 Champions Trophy win.
Why would you scoop when you
The Indian skipper's knock also highlighted how Virat, the batsman, continues to be a massive asset for India, especially when they are faced with difficult situations.
from a batting perspective.
Every Indian fan will be hoping that King Kohli can continue his march and lead India to the ultimate glory come November 14. Sports Bureau, India Today.
When it's a game versus Pakistan, you expect Virat Kohli to fire, and courtesy his 57 is where India managed to get to that 151. Now, before we wrap up, a quick comment from you, Rahul. Just looking at Virat Kohli's innings, you've got to give it to him. When it is crunch situation, when the chips are down, he does stand up.
Especially against Pakistan. Today wasn't a day when where that India would like to remember as cricket fans. Virat, of course, he's done that before. He did it today. Unfortunately, he didn't get the kind of start that he was expecting or India was expecting. But still, you know, Virat runs on the board for him right at the start of the tournament actually bodes well for India.
All right, Rahul, thanks so much for joining us on this special broadcast. India, unfortunately, not able to do that 13-0 that they were looking to do versus Pakistan. Virat Kohli is that one positive that we spoke about. But the tournament, it's a long tournament, plenty of games coming for India. Virat Kohli, after this loss, has said that they couldn't execute the plans that they had thought about. Here's hoping that they manage to do that in the games ahead. Thanks so much for watching.